Hi everybody, Bob Prim here from recording this at St. John's Abbey Guest House in Minnesota. I'm here on retreat and will be on the road back to Georgia on the day of this celebration. I did, however, want to send some remarks about my good friends Rindy and Mark. Let me begin by saying thank you to the group that put this together for inviting me to send these remarks. But also let me thank Covenant Presbyterian Church. You all called Mark and later Rindy to be pastors at your church. And I know that was a gift to your community. But I'm here to tell you, it was also a gift to the larger community, the Northeast Georgia Presbytery. Mark and Rindy have been very important members of our presbytery and have done some just magnificent work. And it's because of you. We are a connectional church, and you called them to be a part of your congregation, but they then in turn served not only you, but our presbytery. And many of us in the presbytery are great friends with Mark and Rindy, and all of us admire the work they have done and are grateful that they've been a part of our work together. Rindy and I did not know each other too well prior to our both being asked to serve on the administrative commission for Central Presbyterian Church. We served together in that wilderness of schism, or schism, as somebody shouted out to me when we read our final report. That was difficult work. Some of the hardest I've ever done in ministry. But one of the great gifts of that time together was the gift of friendship with Rindy. Rindy, I wish you well in your retirement. I'm not long after you. I want to say I reached out to Drew Marshall when I knew I was going to give these remarks, and Drew, of course, like I, has great admiration for Rindy and for her, both her skills at writing and her experience and her pastoral care. Drew recounted a time, Rindy, when you had referred to the prodigal son in one of your comments, and Drew didn't quite understand how that related, and he reached out to you, and he said to me, you obviously took great time to reply to what he had said, and wrote him a long response. And he was very appreciative of it. And I think it's indicative, I say this to everybody, I think it's indicative of Rindy's pastoral care and her commitment to the work that she does as a minister of word and sacrament. I'm very, very grateful, Rindy, for our friendship, and I look forward to sharing some more work together or events together, maybe even relaxed events together, as we will both soon be retired. Rindy, you truly have earned the title honorably retired, and I'm grateful to have been with you in service in Northeast Georgia Presbytery. Mark Harper is a friend. Mark and I have been together in the presbytery the whole time Mark has been in the presbytery, and he and I have shared a good bit of work together. We share a similar outlook, I think, on what the church needs to be doing, and I have so admired Mark's willingness. Mark, I've admired your willingness to get involved in difficult situations. You go where many of us fear to tread, and you do so with grace, with humor, and with wisdom. You have a heart. Mark Harper has a heart for those who are often overlooked. And I know you all have experienced that at Covenant Presbyterian Church. We certainly experienced it in his work in the presbytery and on peace and justice issues, on inclusion issues, and also in reaching out. Mark is one of the people who was so willing and able to reach out to the Korean fellowships in our presbytery. He had the patience to do that and the heart to do it. Mark and I have been on a few hikes together. I think we share some musical taste. We haven't had enough time to share both of those activities, live music and hiking. But Mark, I hope one day we'll get to do more of that. And I look forward to hearing and about your work in Baltimore, and maybe one day seeing you there. Up in Washington, D.C. or Baltimore. I soon will be a little bit free to travel, and I'll look forward to reaching out to you. I so admire Mark Harper and the work that he does, both at Covenant and in our presbytery. Again, I'm sorry I cannot be there with you all in the live work or celebration that you're going to have. I wish I could be, but I'll be driving, and it would be very difficult to be a part of it that way. So I hope this will make its way into the presentation. I just say I give thanks to God for Rindy and for Mark, and I give thanks to God for their friendships and for their work at your church and in the presbytery. I wish you all the best. Blessings. Bye.
As many of you already know, and will certainly know now after hearing Bob's remarks, Nakuchi Presbyterian is very much a sister church like ours, very much in what their ministry is and in their membership. I'm happy now to pass the baton to Don Mosley, co-founder of Habitat for Humanity, a partner at Koinonia Farms, and now a founding partner at Jubilee Partners. Don?
Thank you, Jim. And can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
This technology is a mixed blessing, isn't it? It's great fun, and sometimes it's a headache. But I'm so glad to be able to be here with you in this way. And I'm really honored to be invited to participate in this celebration of these two outstanding people, Mark and Rindy. Not only do I admire them very much and appreciate their ministry, but this whole church congregation has been close to my heart for many years for very similar reasons. You people put into practice something that Jesus emphasized over and over, that we should love God with all our hearts, minds, and spirits, and that we should love our neighbors. And you don't just say it, you do it in so many ways. So my comments will be brief. They'll be mostly about my brother Mark, because I've known him and seen him in action for so many years. But I do want to say I always find Rindy's part to be very inspiring as well. And I thank you for that, Rindy. Love in action. I first heard about Mark from my friends Ed Loring and Murphy Davis many, many years back at the Open Door community in Atlanta, where a young man named Mark Harper was helping them to feed hungry, homeless people and do so much more for people suffering on the streets of Atlanta. And so I was really thrilled when he then moved to Athens and became the pastor at Covenant Press. Sure enough, he continued to emphasize the importance of putting love into action in so many ways. And he found a very responsive team of coworkers. As most of you know, those of us who live and work at Jubilee Partners in Comer have been attempting to do the same thing for these past 40 years, working mostly with refugees from all over the world. And we were so grateful when Mark agreed to be on our board of directors from 2014 to 2019. Somehow he found time, in addition to all the rest of what he was doing, to come to all those lengthy meetings that lasted 2 days or longer, sometime over a 5-year period, and to help us work through our countless debates and proposals for how we should put that love for our neighbors into action. Thank you so much for doing that for us out at Jubilee, Mark. That was a great service you did for us. And I'll just close by saying that I love your style of preaching. I enjoy the way you lead the children's time each Sunday. I try always to watch the children's story, and then, of course, the sermon. And I appreciate more than I can even possibly express the beautiful tribute you paid to our sister, our friend from Jubilee here, Coffee Worth, in that incredibly beautiful memorial service. No wonder Coffee enjoyed coming from Jubilee each Sunday and listening to you preach. Here we are again, Lord. Oh, I heard Coffee praise the Lord and for Covenant Presbyterian Church and for Mark's ministry and for all the rest so many times. So I hate to see you leave Athens, but I know that God has some exciting work waiting for you and for all the rest of us too. I don't know any place more than Washington, D.C., where the message of loving your neighbor is more important. Brother, just be sure my love and my prayers will go with you. And I plan to come up there and have that cup of coffee with you, which we've had so much trouble finding time to squeeze in here and there. I'm going to come to Washington, D.C. and get out there. And also, Bob mentioned that you like to hike, and I'm an Appalachian Trail hiker. To brag a little bit, at the age of 82, I'm still hiking a few miles at a time on that trail, and it passes not too far from where you're going to be. I'm going to come up there and see if I can get you out on the trail for a little bit. But whatever we can do, brother, let's stay in touch. One way to do it is by Zoom. Hey, let's stay in touch. Plan to stay in touch with all you folks, and thank you so much for putting your love into action toward God and for your neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, neighbor Don. I am very pleased in looking at the screen. If your screen looks like mine, the next row down from the top and the next column in from the right is a picture of Emily, who was Emily Bauer when she was on the committee. So now we have 4 of the 9 people. So thanks,
Morning.
Emily. Yeah.
It's so good to see everybody. Good morning.
And last name now is?
Still Bauer. My husband's last name is Hauser. I kept my name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, get him to change his. Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. So good to see everybody.
Great.
Hey.
I'm pleased now to welcome to the screen our own Paige Campbell. Paige?
Good morning. I first want to say a couple of words of thank you to Rindy and Bob Truteau. Thank you for bringing joy and kindness and creativity to Covenant. Even though you were with us for only 2 years, you've made a deep impression on us, and thank you so much for your service. And now to Mark. I'm not really sure how to capture in a few minutes with a couple hundred words the depth of feeling and regard I have for our pastor and friend, Mark Harper. Jim Newland headed up the pastor nominating committee that helped bring Mark to Covenant in 2004. I remember how excited Jim was about our new pastor. He told me and Betsy, "You'll love this new guy, Mark Harper." I was cautiously optimistic. Well, okay, really? I was a little hesitant. But I knew and trusted Jim and the others on the PNC, so I thought, okay, I'll give him a chance. Mark has a warm smile and laughs easily, yet is also incredibly sincere. He dove into becoming part of not only our covenant family, but the Athens community as well. He's made an impact on local leaders, politicians, and fellow clergy, engaging with issues of social justice and working to find common ground in addressing community wounds. For us, Mark has preached thoughtful, evocative, and at times provocative sermons, urging us to follow Jesus, to love one another, and to serve our neighbors. And not just the neighbors who are like us, but especially those who differ from us, who might struggle in ways we do not fully understand. Most importantly, Mark led us in a way that challenged me more than I had been challenged before, not only as a Christian, but as a human. One of the most profound ways Mark impacted me was to encourage all of us to practice this thing called radical hospitality. Radical in the sense of being disruptive and pushing past our comfort zones, and a hospitality that moves us beyond opening our doors to welcome others in, toward moving outside to sit with, serve, and advocate for others, particularly those living at the margins of society. When Mark accepted the call to become pastor of Covenant, he shared with all of us his formative experience at the Open Door community in Atlanta at 910 Ponce, a community that practiced radical hospitality with homeless friends in Atlanta. He learned about Open Door when he heard Ed Loring and Murphy Davis speak at a conference he attended with his parents in DC. While it made an impression, the impact of that conference didn't become fully realized until several months into his landscaping career. He made the bold move of applying to be a resident volunteer at Open Door. God was calling, and Mark was listening. He planned to sign up for 6 months. He stayed for 2 years before leaving for seminary. Less than a year into his ministry here at Covenant, Mark organized a small mission trip to the Open Door, and my family and I signed up. There we witnessed this community that had so impacted Mark and had woven itself into the fabric of his life in such a way as to become an integral part of how he ministered to us and our community. There we slept in tiny basement rooms. We got up early, very, very early, completed chores around the house, and learned what it meant to really serve others. We served with humility, treating homeless friends as guests present for a meal, foot washing, a hot shower, or some clean clothes from the clothes closet. We spent just a few days there, but the impact lasted a lifetime. It was Jesus in the bread line, the embodiment of Matthew 25. Truly, I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these, who are members of my family, you did it to me. In the 17 years since you came to Covenant, Mark, I've learned so many important lessons from you about walking through this life as a Christian, as I imagine most of us have. Sure, I can tithe money and show up to church on Sundays and fully participate in what we do here. But I must also carry this love out when I exit the doors and be willing to see and hear my neighbors, particularly those in need, and serve them as Christ served, and love them as Christ also loved. And Jim Newland was right. We do love you, Mark. You preached to us, prayed with us, taught us, washed our feet, broke bread with us, served meals with us, marched with us, sang with us, and ministered to our hungry and tired and displaced neighbors. You've also been there in some of our most tender moments. You mourned with us, married us, baptized us, celebrated anniversaries, graduations, and retirements, and made a joyful noise with us. Mark, you led us with love, always steady, ever present, humble, and kind. And now God has called you again, Mark. and you've listened. As you depart Covenant and Athens, you leave an indelible impression on our hearts. We pray that your new church home fills your heart with love and your spirit with joy. Godspeed in your journey, Mark. May the Lord bless you and keep you.
Thank you, Paige, for your kind comments and insightful words. Now Julie Bauer will read some comments from Jim and Jerry Bowden. Julie? Unmute.
Now, we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Many of you know, but some probably did not, that our former lead pastor, Jim Bowden, is presently in treatment for urinary tract cancer. He has the best nurse in the world, his wife, Jerry, and the two of them are giving all of their focus right now to getting Jim back to good health. Jim and Jerry knew it would be a stretch for Jim to feel up to coming in person this afternoon to express their gratitude to Mark and Rindy. So they asked that I share this letter from them. Today is a bittersweet day. We say an official goodbye to two pastors who have led us in many ways through incorporating Central Presbyterian Church into Covenant's fellowship of believers, maintaining uplifting worship throughout over a year of COVID lockdown, continuing to feed our food insecure neighbors despite many restrictions. It's time to thank them for their diligent oversight of the church's many ministries. First, to Mark. Who would have thought 18 years ago, when Covenant's dedicated search committee was formed to find a pastor who would accept a call, knowing the pastor of 35 years wasn't going anywhere, that they would find a young minister who would accept the call and stay for 17 years, bringing a wealth of compassion and vision that would expand Covenant's outreach and service to our community and world. Mark has been a shining light to all of us these years, joining in fellowship, service, and witness to the way of Jesus Christ. We are grateful for our friendship with Mark, which has deepened through the years. We are confident that he'll find a wonderful home at Tacoma Park Presbyterian Church, where his servant leadership will be accepted and appreciated, furthering God's call to care for all of God's creation so well exhibited in Jesus Christ. Go with God, Mark, with our love, and be sure to keep your harmonica tuned so that you can surprise your new church family with your musical abilities. Now to Rindy. You came to Athens to support a congregation which had experienced a painful division, and instead helped bring together two congregations of Christ followers, strengthening the commitment of both to grow in love and service to God, following the way of Jesus Christ. You added to Mark's ministries your own perspectives, thus broadening all of ours. We thank you for that and for your wisdom and guidance as we prayerfully deliberated how to move forward together as brothers and sisters in Christ. And you brought Bob with you, teacher, leader, friend, encourager, wise helper. We will miss you. And also your creative children's time, which so clearly expressed to adults and children what you more completely pointed out in that day's sermon. We will miss you. But we know God's ministry will be furthered wherever your new adventures in life may take you. Jim and Jerry close their letter, blessings and peace and love to you. Know you leave us with grateful hearts for your time at Covenant. Jim and Jerry Bowden.
Thank you, Julie, Jim, and Jerry. A vital part of our ongoing program is our own Asher Hill. Asher will now share some personal insights and observations. I hope.
Hey, sorry, it just took me a moment to get to the button. So I didn't write anything down, so I'm just going to kind of come off the cuff here. But I wanted to speak especially about Bob. I know that Mark and Rindy are getting a lot of love today, and rightfully so, but Bob did a lot for me personally. Bob has been a great friend and mentor to me over the last 2 years. I think a lot of people, or to a lot of people, what Bob did in involvement with the virtual services were largely invisible. But he was my production assistant, and that was a lot of technical things. That was a lot of, helping to run microphones and cameras and keep an eye on the board and stuff like that. But Bob encouraged me to become more professionally involved with the church. He guided me through the process of applying my skills to the needs of the congregation. And everybody can hear me, right? Okay, just making sure. I guess what I'm trying to say is that Bob did a lot for me personally and for the congregation, not thanklessly, but without being very visible about it. And I just want to make sure that he knows that he is appreciated and loved. And I just want to give my heartfelt thanks. So thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Asher. We would be remiss if we did not make mention of some of those who are looking on and who will be viewing this later, such as Mark's children, Chris, Gabe, and Hannah, and other extended family and friends, such as our sisters and brothers at Jubilee's Partners, East Friendship Baptist Church, and Hillary Shuford and the Presbytery of Northeast Georgia. Kay Brooks will now share some remarks from our sister church in Olomouc, the Czech Republic.
I'm honored that Jana Vrova, I always scared I'm going to mispronounce that, but I think I got it, has shared on behalf of the Olomouc congregation some words of thanks to Mark for our ongoing partnership over the years, which I've had the honor of participating in, and was one of those mission opportunities along with my mission to Puerto Rico that will ever be a changing force in my life. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity that I have. But their words to you, Mark, dear Mark, we members of our partnership church would like to thank you. Thank you for your willingness to get involved in the partnership project between CCE and the PC USA in the first place. Thank you for supporting Lori and Helen's idea of friendship across the ocean. Thank you for your personal commitment to our mutual relationship, for your friendship and love we could experience in both places, in Olomouc as hosts and in Athens as guests. On one hand, it is really sad to hear you are leaving Covenant and Athens, but on the other hand, we hope our friendship will not end. Whether it will be a personal friendship with you or a friendship of our church communities, we appreciate the number of members of Covenant we could meet and get to know. They are our personal ties, are the reason that we believe in the future of our partnership. There's a little bit of a translational, but stay with me. May God bless you and your service and to come apart. With much love, your Olomouc family.
Thank you very much, Kay. And from Rindy's side of the altar, we welcome Rindy and Bob and their children, Alec Truteau and Chloe Cook, who's on the screen with us. Thank you. And friends who will be hearing this later, perhaps, Joanne Jordan, Debbie and Robbie Kelly, Jean Trammell, Kelly and John DeGarmo, Mary Lou and Jimmy Jordan, Lynn and Steve Jordan, or Jordan, Laura and Doug Curry, Susan and Paul Holmes, Laura DeGroot, Sister Carol Riley, Sister Molly Maloney, Sister Rita Marie Schultz, Jane Thomas, and Sister Mary Irene. Welcome all. In addition to our warm wishes, thanks, and prayers, we're also presenting to each of you a love gift. At last count, it had soared to $1.98 each. And for Rindy and Bob, a gift card to Babette's on North Highland Avenue in Atlanta. And for Mark, a gift card to Applebee's here in Athens, which unfortunately closed a year and a half ago. But actually, we have found a restaurant in Tacoma Park, Maryland, that you will be interested in. And we now hear from our own Linda Keller, who has some presentations to make on behalf of the Knitters and Knotters group. Linda? Unmute.
Oh, I'm unmuted.
All right.
Okay, Kay is going to join us here in a minute. The Knitters and Knotters, let's see, how do we make these bigger? Let's see. Kay, can we see these pictures?
When you share screen, you need to share the whole screen, not a particular window.
Kay is sharing here. Kay?
You're only sharing the window for the my computer window. It has all the files.
Okay. Let's see. Kay, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I'm trying to, let me just see if I can figure this out. Sorry. I don't know why it's so, you are, okay. There, can you see that now?
Just little tiny things on the screen, not big enough to see. Well, I'll have to tell you about it. The Knitters and Knotters for 15 years have been making blankets to give to everyone, new babies, people recovering from illness, graduations, the women's shelter, and of course for some farewells.
Yay.
Hey, there's one. Let's see. There, thank you. This one is a farewell for Mark, who we are told really likes those birds. And this one is personalized with the Presbyterian cross on the back. And let's see, the next picture, Kay. Okay. And there's inscriptions that says, "To Mark with love from Covenant in 2021. And then the smaller tag down there, it says it's made with love by the Knitters and Knotters of Covenant Presbyterian Church. And then there's one for Rindy. Okay, similar blanket in a nice discreet plaid here with with the cross symbol on one side and the similar tags that says "To Rindy and Bob with love from Covenant 2021 and made with love by the Knitters and Knotters of Covenant Presbyterian Church." These blankets will be in the pavilion during the reception at 4:00 this afternoon. And then Mark and Mindy, please take them with you when you leave.
Thanks very much, Linda. And now we get to hear the acceptance speeches from our Academy Award winners, Mark, Rindy, and Bob. Maybe instead of the Golden Globe Awards, we have the Golden Calf Awards. So, Mark, why don't you lead us off?
Well, I already preached, so you're not going to get another sermon, at least not today. I don't have any more words, really, just words of gratitude. A call is a mysterious thing, and it has concrete implications. It means a move. Usually it means disrupting your family to a certain extent and yourself. It means having to learn how to drive around and get around in a new place. The good news, though, is that you never respond to all of that by yourself. And I've always been guided and helped by all of you in so many ways, and I'm just more grateful than I can say. I will let me just offer a word too of gratitude and love for Rindy and for Bob. I think I first met Rindy at a presbytery meeting that, not surprisingly, Covenant was hosting here. We seem to do our fair share of those, and Rindy was here, and I just I remember her kind of walking around and noticing things and being so complimentary of the spaces we had dedicated for children. And I know she loved the congregational mailboxes, that seemed to make our life here very, very personal. And at the last presbytery meeting, I shared this as well. But, some of you are aware that one of Rindy's favorite poets is Mary Oliver. And one of the things in one of her poems that Mary Oliver has said is our greatest work is to pay attention. As human beings, we have to pay attention to one another and the world we live in, and pay attention to ourselves, what's going on within us. And I think that attentiveness just streams out of Rindy in everything she does. She is somebody that does not just dial it in, and she doesn't just walk through this world unaware. She is intensely aware of all things, of the beauty and the times that we have to encounter ugliness, but deeply aware, I think, of God's Spirit working in all of that, and then brings it to our attention. And she does it bravely. I mean, she doesn't pull punches when she's showing us what we need to be attending to. So I just pray that that Rindy will have new opportunities to pay attention and then share them with the rest of us, because we need them. I told her too, I really hope that it's someday that not only her preaching will get published, but her prayers in particular, which I think are just profoundly beautiful, and poetry in their own right. Bob, in a different way, is somebody who pays attention to detail, and organization. I don't think any of us, a year and a half ago or more now, obviously would have imagined that we would be talking to each other through screens or worshiping through a recorded means. But we couldn't imagine the pandemic at that time either. And for those of us who tried to lead worship in that was a huge challenge, but it was made so much more joyous and so much more doable because of the amazing organizational work and attention to detail of Bob, and now Asher and Aaron. And it truly became a time of real community for us. I know different people have found different ways to shift and refocus their lives and handle the pandemic in the best way possible for them. But I think for those of us who were gathering here on, mostly on Fridays, sometimes other days in the week to do the recording, just that process of that creative, technical process was a way that we had of breathing and keeping our feet on the ground and remembering that we really were connected to God through church. So, Bob's art of pulling all the images and sounds together beautifully made us, look so much better than we really are on our own. but I think that's part of that's sort of a parable for me of life in the church. We are so much more beautiful and gracious and capable together than we are on our own. And for that, I am deeply grateful. I've been overwhelmed by the multiple gifts of people in Covenant, different ways of serving in the community. Our people here, we have so many people in this congregation that just quietly attend to one another, make sure meals are taken to people, and I'm sure we don't give them enough credit, but please know that God knows this, and many of us are aware of the quiet ministries that go on in this body, and I'm moved by that. Thank you for your love of me and your gracious way of giving me opportunities to do-overs when I mess up, and thank you for helping me grow and grow into a calling that I am so blessed to have. I am truly confident, and I trust that the Spirit is working. And to go back to that theme of paying attention, I just pray and hope that those of you here will continue paying attention to what the Spirit is guiding you to do. I'll tell you that on Thursday of this week, when we were recording today's worship service, at the very end, there were two cardinals in the tree. I don't think they made it on screen, but they were in the tree flying around as we wrapped up. So you take that for what it's worth, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a sign that the Spirit is at work and moving, and so be ready and be prepared, because when the Spirit moves, it can take you into some wild and amazing places, but I know you're up for it. So love to all of you, and thank you, and we will stay in touch. As an only child, as somebody who never had sisters and brothers, I've got a whole bunch now, and they're all of you.
Thanks, brother. Kay, are we going to be able to go past noon?
We are.
Okay, we are. Good. All right. Next, before we get to Rindy, we have a special word from Hannah Baird.
Go ahead. Can you hear her? Can you hear us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Hannah. First to Rindy.
Rindy, good luck for your retirement.
Thanks, Paul.
And thank you for helping for everyone at Covenant Church.
Okay, now to Mark.
Mark, I will miss you. Thank you. Let me have a new friends on your son, Chris and Gabe.
And Hannah.
And me, myself.
And his Hannah.
And his Hannah.
All right.
Youth group.
And the youth group. I love you so much.
I miss you.
And I always will miss you. And you're always in my heart.
Okay.
Bye, Mark.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Okay,
You're welcome.
Rindy. Okay, Rindy, follow that.
Mute. Oh my gosh. Like Mark, I had hoped that I had said everything that I wanted to say in our worship service. It was a really lovely, vulnerable, incredibly moving time to be able to say out loud how much I appreciated working with Mark. I forgot the time when he first saw me at Covenant. And yes, I did walk into the church building. I was absolutely fascinated with how vibrant the life at Covenant seemed to be. Just the visual first walk through. And here's a true confession. I know at that time, you had out a table with this beautiful display of Advent material, and you were getting people to sign up for your next Advent book. And I stole some of your stuff. I just need to acknowledge that now. I go into my retirement acknowledging that I stole some of that stuff and used it at the church I was serving at the time, which was on Monticello. But it was incredibly creative, incredibly beautiful, incredibly personal. And I could see why, based on all of that, why there was such vibrancy at Covenant. So that when Mark and I got to serve together, we got enlisted as co-chairs for the Committee on Ministry. Now, Hillary tells us that that was 5 years ago, and Mark and I both know it was an eternity ago. We served forever, it seems, as co-chairs, but immediately in listening to Mark, I knew, and I've said this all along to him, he has such a beautiful way of expressing himself at what we pastors call off the cuff. He has such a gift for stringing images and words and sentiment together. It's really quite inspiring, and it's a gift. It's an absolute gift, one that I had always wished that I had, and do not. I have to write my stuff out. But I said to Mark, okay, here's the way it's going to go down, brother. And we did not know each other. You're going to be up in front moderating the meeting and getting up in front of Presbytery. And I, meanwhile, will put together all the reports for you. I'll organize that stuff. I'll write it together. I'll contact you. We'll organize it. And that's the way we'll work. So we did that at least 5 or 6 years together. That's how we worked. It was just a wonderful melding together, I think, of both our interests and our gifts. So when it was clear to me and to some of the leaders at Central that we were not going to be able to move forward as an independent church, shall we say, a separate entity, we began to think about it, and it took us about a year, began to think about how we could continue our life in a way that rang true for us. And interestingly enough, the way we looked at it was through mission. What congregation, what church best expresses not only our values, but our theological beliefs, how we work together, our interests in serving our neighbors who are closest, and also our neighbors that are far away. We looked at all the Athens churches. We had some really wonderful offers for joining together from all of the Athens churches. But it was clear from the get-go that Covenant was the place for us to be. And I'll tell you why. Because all of a sudden, and much actually to my great sadness, one of our really cherished members, Becky Boyd, Louis Boyd's wife, died. And we had no place for that funeral to take place. We had no group to help us assemble a funeral, a gathering, a reception. And Mark Harper opened his doors. There were no questions asked. You can use our sanctuary. We didn't have to go through any kind of approval channels. Mark just said, come on in. What can we do? And so I came in and, interestingly enough, looked again at the sanctuary and fellowship hall with fresh eyes. And lo and behold, here's this person with a broom sweeping cobwebs, cleaning off the ceilings of your hallway. And I said, you have got to be kidding. Talking with this person, and I've forgotten who it was, he said, and it was a gentleman, said that this was just something that they did to prepare. They wanted to show our friends at Central just how welcome they were in this time of great sadness for them. That, for me, was the moment when I knew, yes, we could have some wonderful opportunities with other congregations, but there was no place like home. It had to be Covenant. And from that point on, we really focused in on how can we best become a part of this worshiping community that really is just out there. It's just all over the place. It's responding to all needs, all people, all opportunities in the Athens area. We came limping in. To be honest with you, it was a deeply wounded central body that came to Covenant. I was very exhausted, burned out. I was really at the end of all of my ability to pastor. And Mark, and Beecher was on staff too, but Mark just opened up his arms and said, this is a good place for you. What can you do? Would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? And I couldn't answer him. All I could say was, I just really need a place to rest. I need a place to heal. I need a place simply to be. And in all my ministry, being as opposed to doing is very, very difficult. But he simply let me work my way into a degree of health, work my way into understanding the gift of collegial relationships. I have come, and I hope it's no secret, I have come to not only deeply admire Mark, but deeply love the way his presence in the world, his way of working with folks, of leading a congregation. The most beautiful part about all of it is he helped me to quiet myself. I am much more of a what's the word for it? I have a way of doing things. I'm very organized. This is the way we have to do it. And in watching Mark work, I have been absolutely amazed by the way God works through the incredible gifts of a person whose gifts are complementary to mine, but aren't mine. And lo and behold, after most session meetings, I leave just totally surprised, thinking, how did we get there? How did this happen? Mark's incredible leadership, and at the base of his leadership is this ability to be open to all different kinds of viewpoints. He can synthesize everything, put it together, and then lead folks into coming up to a decision that's mutually agreeable. But he lets them work it through. And that is not my way. I've got a different style, but being able to witness that has really opened up my eyes to the many ways we can be church and be church faithfully. We've had different paths. I've done interim work, I've done transition work, so I've had to have a different skill set than Mark, but to be able to glimpse someone who rock bottom simply trusts people and trusts their skills and trusts that the best will happen, good will come out, has been an amazing gift to me. So yes, I have come into Covenant bringing in a number of what we would call organizational skills, planning skills, strategic planning skills, all of that stuff. And probably pretty competent, I guess. But the most important thing is while working with Mark, this loving presence who simply let me see things, ask questions openly and honestly, disagree with him, go on out and love people, be who I am, work with young people, to just let me be, to be a good colleague, to share. We have a lot of mutual reading and to share ideas. I leave. Yes, I came in as a really a skilled, a technical pastor, no doubt about that. I've been trained for 30 years, but I leave as this really humble disciple. And that I think is the best way to go into retirement, is as a disciple, because he opened my eyes to joy. He opened my eyes to a breadth of gifts that I had not seen before. And he freed me to begin to think in very different ways and to get to things in very different ways. So I feel grateful that the church is in his hands. I mean, that probably is the most marvelous gift. The church is in his hands. He'll go into Tacoma Park. That congregation will come to love him. And here's the really wonderful part. Some of you know our son lives up there. So I am really looking forward to sitting in the pews, Mark's congregation, at least once a month, because that's how often we go to see my son, and a couple of months in the summer, and just giving him a hard time because I can, ask him questions, to do the usual stuff that I do to him now, and to continue a beautiful relationship of friendship, actually for as long as I live. And most of all, Mark, I want you to know how much I thank you, and Covenant folks, how much I thank you for embracing Bob's ministry. You are the only congregation that has really allowed him to use his gifts in the way that means something to Bob, quietly and behind the scenes. In all my years in ministry, all my years, not a single pastor, not a single colleague has stepped up and ministered to Bob. And it's because he's a spouse, I get that. But Mark, you did that when Bob's brother died. You've been his friend, you've been his confidant, and I am so grateful for that. You've given me too many gifts to recount. So thank you, my friend, and thank you, Covenant, for letting me use my gifts in a way that helped me walk out of here and into retirement joyously. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Rindy. Bob, you've got the last word here. Your turn.
This is awesome. I never get the last word after Rindy. When Rindy became a minister 30 some years ago, I struggled with it. Here my wife was called by God. Not only wasn't I called, I didn't even hear the phone ring. And I struggled for years to find my place. It was Rindy who not only has made me a better person all these years, but also made me understand that we are all called. We don't all have the title of minister or pastor, but we are all called. My work at Covenant is nothing more than facilitating all of your calls, whether it's the people in the adult Sunday school class. It was your knowledge, your faith that made those classes wonderful. The finance ministry team, it was your knowledge, your faithfulness that moved the church forward. The people who worked on technology, and especially Asher, he was the brilliance, not me, behind the beautiful virtual worship services, and Kim with the music. And finally, the mission trip. It was a small group, but again, it was their calling, not mine. All I did was facilitate and make it possible. And that particularly will forever be in my heart with all those people who went on the Puerto Rican mission trip. So thank you all. It's been a blessing. And Mark, a friend.
Thanks, Bob. A reminder to everyone that at 4:00 this afternoon, outside, meet and greet, goodbye, and a confirmation ceremony at 4:00 there at Covenant outside. And that concludes the quasi-formal part of the program. Kay, I don't have any idea how much time we have left, but at this point, I'm going to turn it all over to you to say goodbye, to let people in if we have time, but thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Jim, for leading us through that. I I'm actually kind of on the verge of tears after hearing everybody's comments. So it's kind of bittersweet, I guess, a beautiful transition here for everyone. And I do want to encourage people to come at 4 o'clock and participate in the confirmation ceremony of our youth at 4. And then afterwards, if you want to say some personal words to Mark, Rindy and Bob, they will be available for that as well. But many thanks. I do want to open it up. We have a few minutes, and some of you may have not been able to share your thoughts or comments with Mark and Rindy, either through a card or already in person. I'm muted. Oh, there we go. Can you hear me again? If this is a format that you feel comfortable and you would like to take the opportunity to share, we can stay on for a few more minutes and give you that opportunity. Sure. Okay. Everybody's had their opportunity, I think. Just making sure.
If you would like to speak, if you'll just wave your hand and get Kay's attention, she can make sure that you are able to be heard.
Missy, go ahead. Can you unmute yourself? No.
There, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm late. This is about Rindy and Mark leaving, right? So it's about what they mean to us?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, both of them have been wonderful, wonderful people who have helped me numerous times. I don't know what I would do without this family here, and I'm going to miss both of you guys a lot. Thank you so much for everything you've done for me and my family.
Thank you, Missy. Anybody else? Go ahead, Katie.
This will be quick. I tried to write something earlier, but couldn't do it. And I thought, well, I'll go down the music scene. That didn't all get done either. But here you go, folks. The 3 of y'all with your different adventures that are coming. We're off to see the wizard. Who put the bump in the bump to bump to bump? I feel good. Round, round, get around, I get around. And oh, happy day, you're there. And then the curtain call, bdee, bdee, bdee. That's all, folks. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Katie.
Anyone else? You can go ahead and just unmute if you want to.
A special thank you to Kay and Asher for making this all possible and putting this together. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you guys this afternoon if you are able to come. So, see you then.
All right. Well, if nobody has any qualms about it, I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Asher.
Love you all. Thank you. We'll see you.